Guys, what are we doing?
I don't know.
Why are we so dumb?
We just are.
Isn't this your idea?
Yes, why am I so dumb?
That's not for me to decide.
No, but what is for us to decide is every single show must be ranked. And we're going to do it, aren't we, Seda? And he just left.
Seda. Jeez. We sit here for like 30 minutes getting ready, and then the moment we start, he's gone.
Oh, boy.
I'm hoping that was just a glitch.
I think it was.
Okay.
Oh, God. Okay, the timing on that was too good.
All of this out.
That was too good.
No, just actually leave all of this in. Now what?
There he is. There he is. Hey, Seda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Your timing
So,
on that
like,
was
as soon as
perfect.
No, it was as soon as you like started the broadcast, like my Google Hangouts for like it. I don't know what it did. It like stopped responding, and then the tab like died. So
I guess it was a glitch. It was like, you changed something.
That was fantastic.
This is probably what happens because I have like 40 tabs open right now. So yeah.
Why?
That
Probably
sounds like it might do it.
They're all TV tropes. Anyway, Seda, are you ready to rank some shows?
Not really, but sure, let's do it.
C-Caller, are you ready to rank some shows?
Oh my God, I guess. Let's do it.
B-Dubs, are you ready to rank some shows?
Do we have to rank the bad ones?
Yes.
Those will be the
fun part.
We have to determine which show is the most bad.
Okay.
Although we have to determine which show was the second most bad, because most bad is pretty locked in.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I think there's an argument for most bad at this point.
Well. So here's how this is going to go. We're going to go through 45 shows. Some of them have been, combined or separated or not counting because we haven't watched enough of them. And we're going to go through by chronological order of air date. And we're going to rank all of them 1 through 45 from best to worst. We're very stupid.
Sounds fun.
I could swear it's more than 45 shows.
Well, some are, we're not ranking like Dragon Ball Super.
Well,
We've seen not enough of that.
I know, but I felt like we'd be closer to like 100 by now.
No, what? No.
I don't know.
I think you're off your rocker.
Well, I feel like, time has been moving slowly or quickly or whatever, so it's just weird.
This new Toonami's only been back for, what, not even 5 years?
I know, but it feels like it's been so much longer.
So,
45
shows.
Man, some of this is like, oh, this show was on the air only 3 years ago.
That's crazy.
Anyway, so shall we start with Bleach? Guys, what do we think of Bleach?
Well, it's right now we're only ranking Bleach against itself, right?
Yeah, Bleach. Congratulations, you're number 1.
And number
Good job.
And number 45.
Good job, Bleach. No, seriously, what do we think of Bleach?
I'm not a fan.
I think most people would agree that the first arc is the Soul Society stuff is,
the best
for a shonen anime. It's definitely what the best that Bleach has to offer.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing that didn't really air on quote Toonami. That was
I think we can.
So are we?
I think we can.
So we are counting everything. We are counting for Bleach. We're counting the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even the filler.
Yep. Yes. Everything.
Okay, so it's going to be like bottom tier.
Probably bottom tier. Maybe like not like
just outside
upper
the
bottom tier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe like just above where the show, maybe like just above the demarcation line between not good and bad.
it's
Yeah.
congratulations, Bleach. You're not the absolute bottom of the barrel, but you're still
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're not bottom 5, but you're close.
I would put it in the bottom of the mid tier, because and the reason I don't think anyone's really giving reasons; they're just giving feelings. But I'd give a reason to say that for such a long running show, it was a slog for so many episodes.
Yeah.
Where
The pacing was absolutely disgusting at times.
and it was kind
And-
of goofy and stupid. But what keeps it out of the bottom tier for me is that, like, I remember having fun talking about that show because, like, goofy characters or moments that made me laugh out loud unintentionally. And every once in a while there'd be a cool moment. So it's not all terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, this show is not good.
No.
The characters are mostly super boring.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd also like to point
the
out
main
that
character has no goal, so he just kind of ends up being a wet blanket in every arc.
I'd also like to point out that in the middle of arcs, like literally in the middle of fights, it will stop, then go into a random filler arc that nobody knows how they got there or where it came from.
I wonder why the show got canceled in Japan.
I don't know, it just did.
I mean, but let's give it up for Aizen. Pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the grinning guy's name?
Isn't that Aizen?
No, remember the guy in the last.
His lackey.
Oh, right. The
final
guy
arc.
that could make his sword
final
really
arc.
short.
Remember the final arc guy with the grin?
Oh yeah, Ginjo.
Ginjo. See,
Oh,
like
right,
again,
right.
stuff like that. It's terrible, but it made me laugh out loud how bad it was. So I kind of it gives props for making me laugh for the wrong reasons.
There's also
But-
Tsukishima, our best friend.
With his power of Facebook.
I mean,
His power was literally Facebook.
Yes.
y'all know
He
that
was
if that
fun.
was a stand, it would be really cool, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean that's actually something that's in One Piece right now, and it's pretty awesome.
Anyway, considering all these things, Bleach gets #1.
Good job, Bleach.
And number
Because it
45.
is the first show to be ranked. Oh. Hold on. Okay, how do I? There. I did it. I can
All right.
do spreadsheet. Anyway, Dead Man Wonderland is a show.
Wow.
Dead Man Wonderland is
Wait, that was that
also
early?
like it
Dead
was
Man
one of the
Wonderland was
first
only
shows,
the
right?
second, like part of the first return lineup. It was the second show.
Damn.
That's right, because it came back later on a rerun.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm thinking it's from later.
But it's pretty fun.
Shiny,
So
shiny.
Dead Man Wonderland is more fun than good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
And
obviously
especially more
ridiculous.
fun because of it started like being like, oh man, what's Toonami gonna look like now? And it's like exploding classrooms,
There is blood everywhere.
decapitated children. This ain't your parents, Toonami, motherfuckers.
And then it turned into Our Parents Toonami.
Yeah.
It was a fun show. And I'll tell you, I'll give it here's where I'm going to give it props. It had a protagonist who at the beginning was kind of a weakling, but then later owned up. And
I mean,
that's
he still
always a
cried.
plus. Yes,
Yeah,
he
I mean-
finally
I mean-
like manned up and became a badass. And
I
then
mean, he still cried while he did it, though.
well, maybe, but it was better than most shows where they're just shingying the whole time.
Yeah.
But then the other thing was, what was the girl's name who went psycho?
You're going to have to be more specific
Hummingbird.
because
Hummingbird was her.
I mean,
Yeah.
that apply. There were like 3 different psycho girls in that.
You know
show, so
who
you're
I'm
gonna have to be
talking
more-
about. Come on.
So that episode is kind of like the very. So there's a couple of these moments that sometimes happens in these Toonami shows where
Mhm.
like thread, the live watch thread, just kind of loses it, and that was kind of the
Right.
first moment where, especially, it was amplified because it
No,
was
like the
censored.
first moment was like episode 2 with the obstacle murder course. And then
Yeah.
followed up immediately by that episode of Cashern where like everyone dies.
Yep.
And
But,
then
like-
the episode, and then Samurai 7, where the guy sold his wife.
But I mean, when you think of Dead Man Wonderland, at least I do, like that's the first moment that comes to me when Hummingbird, like up to this point, she's been basically a timid, nice, kind of like,
Mhm.
Supposed to
A demure
seemingly is
character.
supposed to be a very
Yeah.
likable girl, and then like
She crazy.
you see her in the arena, and she like goes absolutely nuts with the classic, but this memorable dub line. Why don't you jack off into a bottle of formaldehyde and call it our firstborn, or something like that?
God.
I remember that episode
And
was
it was
hyped up to heaven and hell, and then a storm came through and knocked my internet out, and I couldn't watch anything.
And it was
Well-
amplified because at that point the show was censored because
Yeah.
a lot of F-bombs and things that I think that's like the only thing that Toonami really just can't, or Adult Swim can't like say without bleeps. So like that episode, she's like yelling and going nuts, and then it's just like bleeping every other word she says. It's just kind of like
and that's the only thing that comes through completely unbleeped.
Well,
that
let me
formaldehyde line
talk
was,
about
was
like
safe.
oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
I was going to say, this kind of brings me to like a bigger issue picture regarding the ranking here. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'd be interested to hear what you think, but I'm thinking about, when I think about these shows and I'm thinking about ranking them, it's not just like, is this show good? It's also, is it a good Toonami watch show? And this is a good example of one where I think the show is elevated a bit by our responses in the thread, by how much we had fun talking about it, as much as like the actual quality of the show. Because this show definitely had a terrible ending.
I mean, the show had a terrible everything.
This show is just a little bit of quality. Like, this show should be one of the bad shows.
Like, I'd put it just above Bleach.
But
Like,
that's
against
my
only
point.
because it was fun.
Against all odds, this show should be like a Sword Art Online, but against all odds, it's not.
Well, for ranking purposes and to make this all make sense to the people listening and to each other, how are you personally ranking these shows? Are you counting our reactions? Or are you just looking at the show, or what?
Well, like for example, like we're gonna talk about this probably hours from now, but like
Yeah.
Tokyo Ghoul is kind of nuts and kind of crazy, but like nobody in the thread is enjoying it. It's just like, this is stupid. And so like the response to it is basically a bunch of, it's actually kind of like, almost depressing, because everybody's basically like having like a hate parade on it, where Dead Man Wonderland is also kind of just crazy and stupid, but it's like a crazy and stupid that people are just like,
It's
this is so
hilarious.
crazy and stupid.
Like, people
it's
were
like-
looking forward to it, the next episode, of seeing where it would go and how bad it would be.
Yeah.
Whereas
But, like-
with a show like Tokyo Ghoul, we're just done.
Yeah. It's sort of like how with SAO, everyone was always, sort of laughing hysterically. And,
Although I would say that SEO has other good things about it too. But if you really want to compare like a show that's a slog versus a show that's bad but like entertaining to group watch, I think Tokyo Ghoul.
I think it also helped.
Dead Man Wonderland falls into that kind of fun to watch with a group, but yeah, quality-wise overall, the show,
Right now, all we have to worry about is it better or worse than Bleach?
Well, I'd say better.
So I think Chris's point is that when we're deciding like final placement, that live watch enjoyment factor is definitely going to basically going to factor in, like when we're comparing it to like shows that are like of similar quality that we determine, like, well, this show is about as bad as this show, but I don't know, this one had more music.
I completely agree with you. You're right. We should probably wait on that aspect until we get two shows that are very similar next to each other. So as far as Dead Man Wonderland comparing to Bleach, oh man, I don't know.
I put Dead Man Wonderland above Bleach.
Yeah.
One reason being it's only 12 episodes. So that I think that factors into that a lot as well, where it's kind of like
it
always doesn't
moving.
overstay its welcome. It's not just like Bleach was, you know, at the top of the block for years, and it just kind of like dragged on and on.
Yeah.
Where like Dead in Wonderland is, you know, just easier to.
It was in, it was out, it was done. Oh, God.
What do you think, Grex?
Above Bleach.
Yeah, I put it above
Yeah.
Bleach.
I don't have a strong opinion, so I'll go with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, like, Dead Man Wonderland didn't have episodes where literally nothing happened, so, you know, I don't see how you don't put it above Bleach.
Man, Bleach fans are just getting shat on right now.
Oh, they'll get there soon enough.
They don't exist
you know,
anymore.
Yeah, I think that last arc sort of killed them all
That
off.
ending, man.
You know, that ending had the potential to be the greatest, like, Dadaist masterpiece ever, but then, you know, the author was like, no, I'm just going to do a bog standard, boring ass ending.
And then halfway through it, I'm going to be told I have 3 weeks left to finish the series.
No, I mean, how it should have ended is it should have been Aizen revealing the last 2 arcs have all been my Bankai. You know?
I can't believe he never did that.
I know, that should have been the ending. Is when did you think this fight was over?
Cash Earned Sins is also a show that was really kind of important in those early days when we didn't know what the hell was going on, and then Cash Earned comes on and it's like, man, this
Everything
is...
sucks.
Oh my god, everyone's dying. What the hell?
Kill Casher, devour Casher.
So Cash Earned Sins has like a very specific tone to it, and it is kind of a. I mean, yes,
that tone is endless.
It's kind of like it's melancholy. It's kind of it's moody. It's emo because it feels like it's not that like some of like the Tokyo Ghoul stuff again. Like,
yeah,
but it's moody. It's melancholy. It's like it doesn't. Like some shows are fun because like this is a fun, upbeat, happy show. That's definitely not what Cash Earned Sins is, but it had a kind of a unique type of art style to it. I don't know what you call that. It doesn't really look like other shows, so I think that kind of helps. You know, its tone and its style help it stand out. I do think it sometimes dragged in its moodiness a little bit too much. Where it's just kind of like, yeah, we get it. Okay, we get it.
Everything is horrible. We get it.
There was a point where I wasn't really watching Toonami all that much, so I think I like missed most of the last half of Cash Earned Sins.
It was just all depressing.
Yeah, I figured. Like, this was a show when like a van full of kids would show up at the start, and we'd be like, "Hey, they're all dead by the end of the episode."
And then that's what happens.
Now this is 5 years ago now, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time remembering like what actually happened in the show.
I do remember there was actually an episode where 2 little girls showed up, and by the end of it, they committed suicide.
Oh God, we're in Cash Earned Sins. Abort.
and then they just offed themselves, like right at the end of the episode. We're all just sitting there like, wait, what just happened?
And I think it was the end of that second episode. Jeez. Like, I kind of remember vaguely, it was like, I'm trying to help you. Stop helping me. Oh, we're all dead. God, why?
But I don't really remember what like happened in this show. Like, Cash Earned was like he killed a woman. And because he killed her, it like changed the world to become like this wasteland, right?
Yeah.
And
it like released.
I forget what this woman's name was. It was like he was like the murderer.
Luna.
No, was it Luna?
It was Luna.
Okay, yeah. And then like because he killed her, and even though he like didn't remember it or something, that's what caused this world to do this. And then there was like this kind of like anti-casher, and his name was Theo.
Oh wait, was it?
I think so.
Oh God, that's amazing.
Oh no.
Well, when I say anti-casher, you know what I mean, though, right? He was like, he was like, I got to get revenge on him, and that was. I remember that was probably one of the most action-y episodes. Was like when they finally faced off. And then he had like he had like a sidekick girl who was also kind of nuts. I remember.
Yeah, there was this weird episode where she just got laid for some reason.
The fact that you don't
And then
remember
there
much
was-
about it probably says about what bucket it ought to go into.
It ultimately
I
wasn't very memorable.
No.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was. I want to put it above Bleach, but I don't know if I put it above Dead Man. I mean, like
Like right in between the two.
I'd put it above Bleach just because Bleach has so much bad, but I just don't remember much about this show. So
Yeah.
I think its mood and its style help it because
Yeah.
it wasn't just it was not generic, which is
That's the last thing you can say about it.
like I only remember specific moments, and even then only vaguely.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
above Bleach but below Dead Man,
Yeah, right there.
no objections. Okay. Cash and Sins slots in at number 2, below Dead Man and above Bleach. So now this ranking should be easy. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Number one.
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is-
I mean,
My immediate reaction is that this is top 5
yeah.
candidate. So
Yeah, this
top
is
10
this is gonna
for sure.
we're gonna have a lot
Yeah.
to talk about this once we get closer to the end of the list because it's gonna be way at the top.
Do we want to just save discussion for when it's like
yeah, let's say discussion
yeah.
because right now Full Metal Alchemist is like clearly
The best show.
above these 3.
for
And so let's
for a
not
brief
just
minute, let's at least like gush about Full Brotherhood at least a bit.
It's so
Okay.
well put together. Like every part of it is just good.
Probably
from
one
a
of the best anime manga adaptions ever.
Yeah, and the manga itself was like the story was so incredibly well put together that a good adaptation is just absolutely fantastic.
Great performances, animation on a consistent quality through the
Yeah.
entire series that is
Mhm.
typically above anything else that was airing at the time.
Absolutely
Yeah.
one of the best productions
Yes.
Yeah.
I think has ever been made. Like I'm just watching the openings and I'm like, these are so far above like they're
Yeah,
it's on the
really
quality
good.
level of JoJo.
Like there were no scenes I can ever remember from Brotherhood where I ever thought to myself for a moment, this is
That's
kind of
bad.
lower quality animation.
No.
It was always good.
Yep.
Yeah, they
And it was
went
like
all out for
52
that.
episodes or something.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, they went on for like there was like 4 or 5 different seasons, and they just kept going, and it was always good. Even when they finally caught up to the manga, it was like, yes, no, we're not going to slow down the pacing. We're actually going to speed up the pacing of We're actually going to speed up the release of the manga so we don't get overtaken.
So-
Like there were no like corners cut here.
just a couple of like bullet points. One thing I think Brotherhood does well, and I actually think this is one reason that one thing that does slightly better than the other
Mhm.
anime, which I know that's not really the point of the topic here,
Yeah.
but it has a pretty large cast, but there are so many cast members that are utilized well and fleshed out
Mhm.
well.
Yeah.
So like obviously you have Ed and Al, but then like you have like the whole story around Mustang and Hawkeye.
Mhm.
You have the whole story between like the Armstrong like brother or sister brother and kind of like their positioning
You've
in
got
like
Briggs, you've got the Briggs troops, you've got the homunculi, you've got Scar. Everyone's very well defined, and they have everyone's got a part to play in their story, even if it's only minor.
And here's another.
like even the part
Go ahead.
like there I'm sure we'll talk about some criticisms maybe
Mhm.
now or later, but like even
Yeah.
like one of my favorite moments in the anime is like when Winry confronts Scar.
Yeah.
That's
So this is
good.
what I
Even
was
though
about to say.
it's not like an actiony thing, it's not like a badass moment. It's not like
it's just
this is so cool. It's just kind of like the way that characters are built up to that. Like it's
Mhm.
it's tense, but kind of in a character way. It's not tense
Yeah.
because like this is cool and like high paced. It's just kind of like
dramatic.
it really makes you care about these characters and their plights.
Yeah.
Winry's parents, and
It's this dramatic thing because you've got Winry, who's personality is partly shaped on the fact that her parents were killed like that, and you've got Scar who's completely driven by revenge, and there's this sort of thing in the background where you're like, maybe she wants to take revenge on him for this whole thing, and then, like, is she going to start down that same path he's, very clearly down?
Well, that's the thing. Like the show kind of like grips the viewer, not because of how well it builds the characters. It's not just gripping because it's like cool. If you know
you
what
care
I mean.
about the characters and what happens to them.
So you're actually like you're legitimately watching this. You're like legitimately like, oh man, what is going to happen here? Like, what is she going to do? So
the other thing I'd say too that puts Alchemist in another category from a lot of other shows is that, and it partly is probably because of the author, is that it has a cast of female characters that are all really well defined and interesting and contribute strong to the story.
This is a comment I've made before, but like one of the things that, or two of the things that really stick out to me about that was like the fact that Ed Now's teacher is a woman, and nobody makes it weird. Nobody makes the offhand mention like, your teacher's a woman? That's weird, or anything like that.
General Armstrong.
Armstrong.
Like, one of the Armstrong characters is kind of a fan service jokey character, and one of them's the cool one with the sword.
And guess
the
which
opposite.
was the woman. Yeah.
Right.
It's the opposite of what you would expect, and it's great. And I mean, like, again, just really genders in this show, not to go off on a tangent here, but just like well represented characters, regardless of gender, are powerful, good, well-defined characters, and their gender has nothing to do with it. It's not a part of a trope at all. It's just they're good characters.
Yeah,
it does help that this series was written by a woman.
That's what I said.
It does. I mean, it's basically, okay, this character needs to be really strong, but it's a woman, so she's just going to be really strong.
Like, and also like Hawkeye. Like Mustang, like from like a surface level perspective, Mustang is a cool character. He's got firepower and all that,
Yeah.
But like, basically, the show actually kind of goes out of its way to show like Mustang is kind of a flawed person and like is like totally overtaken by his, when Hughes dies, by that basically that grief and that and then basically Hawkeye is kind of the calm-headed one, but it's also very capable and basically saves his butt, actually several times throughout the show.
Hawkeye is very
only
clearly propping Mustang up throughout the show.
The only female character that I think is probably like a little bit one note is Lan Fan, because she's basically like, I'll do everything for Ling, and that's kind of her whole character.
Yeah.
But she's more minor though. Like
she's also got she's also got the whole I Love Al thing going on.
No,
Lan
that's
Fan?
different. That's May.
May. That's May. Yeah, Ling is very much.
Yeah, Ling is, but I think you could gender swap Ling and it would be the same character. It's just like a really devoted like disciple.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm getting at is like, if that's kind of like the best criticism I can come up with for female characters, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the best criticism you could come up with the series is the ending maybe wraps up everything too cleanly.
The one thing I always come back to that kind of felt unnecessary is the whole zombie thing. Like, I'm not entirely sure why. Like, Father, so the main villain is Father. And his main goal is basically, he doesn't give a shit about anything except getting knowledge. And the way he does that is basically by doing like this transmutation thing with the moon. And this is basically like meant to be like a portal, like a huge portal of truth, and kind of like gain like the ultimate knowledge, become, But like somehow for some reason alongside this, he like sets up this like zombie creation factory, and that's like I'm not exactly sure what your point was here. Like,
I think it's just to distract the military people.
I got the impression it was about like just creating a little temporary army to keep the good guys busy while he was doing his mission.
Yeah, so that part always kind of felt like a little bit weird to me. Like,
it was a quick way for him to build an army, basically.
I think he didn't even want the army. I think it was the general. I think it was just to get the general's office back, because
it was kind of. I kind of look at it more. He was just kind of like entertaining them. Like, okay, we're gonna create.
Exactly.
I don't really actually care about this, but I'll go ahead and
do it for you.
Do this.
Like I'll tell you how to do
it. So it kind of feels like the writer, I forget her name, when she wanted to have like obviously as a functional element, it provides something for like Al and the other people to kind of like have to face off against. But like the whole reasoning why the zombies are there in the first place, I think is a little bit flimsy. But
yeah,
that's always the one thing I think of when I'm like thinking about how to criticize this show. It's like, well, the whole zombie thing is kind of a little weird, but
I think it only slowed the story down. But that's about the only complaint.
Well, I mean, like the story might have needed a little slowing down at that point, because without that, it's basically a sprint to the ending.
Yeah.
So anyway, this show is clearly number one.
Yeah.
Yes.
For now. Yes.
I mean,
so
instead, let's discuss whether Full Metal Alchemist Original or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is better.
Brotherhood.
Well, no, let's
original,
not.
It is.
I was joking.
Part of this conversation. I think both are great.
Yeah.
But I
was joking because otherwise we'd be here for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't even start, Seda, because we'll never stop.
Anyway.
It'll never end.
Ghost in the Shell standalone complex is pretty good as well.
Kind of funny how this was on the original lineup, and now it's back currently.
Yeah.
It's been back several times.
Yeah. Like, it just never kind of leaves. It's always there.
I mean, partly because Adult Swim owns it. Yeah. They help pay for the production of season 2, so I mean, it's a very good show. I think at this point it goes just below Full Metal Alchemist.
I agree. I mean, that's definitely. I think we would all agree that's where it belongs on our current list. I don't want to. I don't have a whole lot to say about this show other than the production values are pretty good. It's the most cerebral show we've ever had on the block, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's weird how sometimes this show can literally be 30 minutes of just talking, and it airs at like 3:30 in the morning, and I'm still just like, I'm cool. I'm invested in this.
Yeah, I gotta watch this.
This is the type of show I've only seen it a couple of times. And like I do think it's the type of show you do get more out of it on a second viewing.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I kind of like two things I didn't like realize fully the first time around. It has a great soundtrack.
Oh, it really does.
Yes, Yoko Kanno.
It's understated.
The dub, the voice acting is fantastic. Like the most previous episode that aired on Toonami, it was basically the Serrano Genomics guy. Monologuing a bunch about basically his involvement with the micro machines and basically like why he basically shot down the Mirai vaccine and kind of like his whole like basically like his reasoning for why he did that. And it sounds like the most boring thing and he's just kind of monologuing, but like it's hard to explain this, but like the intonation of his sentences, the way that they were being delivered,
it was just really good.
It felt incredibly natural. Like it's like the type of topics they're talking about. You almost kind of expect the voice actor to just kind of like be reading words on a page because like they don't like,
you expect them to go bleach.
Yeah,
it's and they're talking about things like patents and these business.
It shouldn't be interesting, but it is.
But like the way that these lines are being delivered, it feels incredibly natural, and that's actually something I like. That's actually something I like cognitively like noticed on that previous episode. Like, wow, this voice actor like put effort into this.
Yeah.
Also has some of the most unique voices. The voice of Bato and the voice of the director, very unique sounding in anime. You don't hear those voices very often.
Yeah. It's also sort of the time it came out was sort of early 2000s, and this was sort of still around the time when a lot of anime dubs were not good in the slightest. And this one was just, fantastic from beginning to end. So it's just this weird thing where, this came out in a space where dubs were still sort of getting better. They weren't where they are now, but they were getting better. And it's sort of like, that's fantastic. It's weird.
Well, I'm going to vote for it to be below Brotherhood because I think it has. I can probably think of 3 faults that this show has, and I have a hard time finding faults with Brotherhood. So, anyone else have a different opinion?
First of all, are we considering Standalone Complex? Are we including season 2?
I mean, it's both.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no real reason to separate them.
The ending of season 2 is kind of is not great. It's
Right.
Without getting into details, the ending of season 2 is probably the most anime the show is. It's like extremely coincidental. It feels like contrived in a sense. Like, oh, that's convenient. It's kind of like with the Major's backstory and with her connection to what's his name?
Kuze.
Yeah, Kuze. It kind of feels like it feels very anime, and it just like when the rest of the show doesn't. So that alone puts it below Brotherhood for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because it's so episodic, that ends up having it's like, well, some of these episodes aren't the greatest.
Yeah.
And so that's why it has to go below Brotherhood, which is so consistently good.
Yeah. It's fair.
I mean, Ghost in the Shell is going to be still pretty high up on the list, but
also probably top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
For sure.
So below Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Full Metal Alchemist has a hard title to pronounce.
It's a mouthful.
I remember when I first heard about this series, I could never remember what it was called because it had such a strange name. It took me a long time to finally get into my brain Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
You have to almost stop.
Yeah, there's a reason most people type it out as just FMA.
So, moving on to the last of the initial lineup, Cowboy Bebop.
We have 3 pretty high-ranking shows in this first light.
Seriously.
I mean, what is there to say about Cowboy Bebop that hasn't already been said?
It's very good.
Yeah, we don't need to describe episodes or characters yet here, unless we're going to compare it to another amazing show. I would say this is
there is not a single bad episode in this show.
This is a. I don't know if this is a weird place to start with this, but when I think of Cowboy Bebop, one thing that I recall is an episode with Jet called Black Dog Serenade.
Yes.
I remember watching this episode like on a rewatch, and like if you were to for some reason I didn't remember it very well, and I'm like it's not one of those episodes that kind of often comes up when people talk about what's their favorite Cowboy Bebop episode. But still, when I remember watching this episode with Jet and his partner from the past, who betrayed him and basically made amends for it in a very compelling way, and it's I just kind of remember watching that episode and saying wow, this episode is really good, and I didn't remember how good it was.
Yeah.
And then I kind of remember actually kind of all the Jet episodes are good, really.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is there's just so many good episodes that even great ones like Black Dog Serenade kind of gets swept
forgotten. under. Yeah.
Because it's so high quality across the board. And it's just kind of remarkable.
One might say it's the best anime ever made.
I wouldn't go that far,
the only episode that I think is probably not very good, I don't remember the title of it. It's the one with the kind of with the girl with the fortune telling, or it's actually another Jet episode.
Right, yes. The one with the where they go to Mars.
It's some sort of what?
Or no, it's or is it one of the moons of Jupiter? Like they go somewhere, and it's a big city, and there's this fortune telling thing, and Jet is with the girl.
Yeah. Okay, I forgot if it was on Jupiter or whatnot, but it's and she finds her dad or something.
Yeah.
That's the only episode that I think is and that's not even a terrible episode. It's just kind of a nothing episode, really.
It's this weird thing where if it was on any other show, it'd probably be the standout episode, but compared to everything else that Cowboy Bebop does, it's sort of it exists.
But anyways, I think Cowboy Bebop should be top, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I'd put it above Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, that's fair. It's going to be another one of those top 5 contenders.
I personally don't think it's as good as Brotherhood, but I can't argue why. I think that Grex a second ago said that Cowboy Bebop's one of the greatest animes ever made. I don't know if it's the best anime ever made, but I would say that it's probably seminal in American anime viewership.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the big shows. So
yeah, it's one of those shows that sort of proved to the American viewer that anime can be serious. It can be an art form.
yeah.
Or on the other hand, it's one of those shows where people like, I don't like anime, but Cowboy Bebop doesn't count as anime.
Yeah.
But I also kind of rank Brotherhood in that same personally, because like if I think about like what shows would I introduce somebody to anime to, it would be those two. So I don't know. I'm okay with putting it above Brotherhood, but I want to just state right now that I feel I think that Brotherhood actually has a quantity advantage over Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop has excellent stories and characters, but it's so much a shorter series, and Brotherhood is like so good for 50 episodes.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's so good that it's 50. Like the average, I think, ends up being higher in Bebop.
Yeah, I think Bebop also has better music, and I think Bebop also has.
Bebop is also maybe the best
better comedy.
Show
huh?
Ever.
I mean,
whatever.
It's like when we get into like the top 5 and top 10 discussions, it's going to be like a thing of degrees. It's between two good soundtracks, this one slightly edges this one out, and like there's no going to be clear this is better than that. It's all going to be like.
Let me point out one particular scene in Cowboy Bebop, and I've talked about this before, so I apologize if I'm sounding like a broken record, that I think trumps kind of anything else that like Full Metal Alchemist has to offer, even though I really like Full Metal Alchemist. It's the very end of the episode, Speak Like a Child.
Yep.
Basically, who has forgotten her memory, stumbles across a tape of herself.
Yeah,
writing,
one of the best anime episodes ever.
Writing to herself in the future. Yeah. And it's like this level of attachment to this episode that is almost unmatched in anything else I've ever seen.
Well, it's like that episode is just redeemed by that one moment at the end.
Well, no, the episode's great.
It is, but it's a silly comedy episode up till that point.
But I think that actually works in its favor, because then it kind of just drops this ending on you, like full force, and you're like it comes out of nowhere, and it kind of, I think it works for the better for it. But and there's just something so personal about like seeing yourself 10 years ago, who has no idea what's coming for them, no idea what the future holds, basically. And literally the title of the episode, Speak Like a Child. There's no fancy words here. There's no, this isn't cleverly written. It's not, it's not like poetic prose. It's literally
the directing of that scene.
Do your best.
Is some of the best ever, because they do what you should do in every great visual medium, where you show and don't tell. And so it's just the characters reacting. It's just like agaped mouths and staring eyes, and the only word that Faye even says in that scene is, "I don't remember," and that's it. And it's like, it's so powerful because of that. And it's definitely, you're right, that scene alone puts it above Brotherhood, because there's nothing of that level in Brotherhood. Brotherhood's great, but I don't think no scene touches that. And then they also reference that scene later in probably my personal favorite moment in Cowboy Bebop, which is the ending of Hard Luck Woman, I think, where both Faye and Ed leave. Or Ed leaves and Faye finds her home, referenced in the video. So
but that's like the type of thing that almost like Brotherhood is a great story with great characters, but the whole like Faye in that moment, and as well as the other moment, it almost breaches where it connects with the viewer on a personal level, like a forgotten past, like it almost like touches on like the transience of life type of thing, where it's you can never get your childhood back. It's, you know, something you might be able to view a recording of, but it's in a sense lost forever.
And
at a point.
also this whole
Just
idea
so
of lost identity
lovable.
because she doesn't know who she is.
Yeah. But I think even if obviously most people have their memories of their past, it still speaks to them. Like being able to, you know, see this in terms of having a, I don't know, it's like having this younger version of yourself almost act, they're almost like a stranger to you, even though it is you, you know. In
And
terms
it also,
of talking about,
there's echoes there of about the fact that she is, you can see it in the performance and in the, it's not spoken, but this idea that she's ashamed. She's ashamed of what she is. She's not what this little girl wanted to be. So yeah, I'm sorry. I think we're dragging on here. Put Cowboy Bebop above Brotherhood. There's just no question now.
So Cowboy Bebop is number one.
Yeah, I mean the closest thing in Brotherhood to, you know, the heights of that is basically Winry confronting Scar, and that's not on that level.
And also the episode of the Chimera and the girl.
Oh yeah, that one too, but it's still not quite
isn't really the same. No.
So, Samurai 7 is a show that exists.
Sold my wife.
He sold his wife.
I mean, that is pretty much the most memorable thing of the show, is something that isn't even really part of the show. It's just a thread meme.
Well, I mean, the guy did sell his wife.
Yeah, but I mean, I mean, it's not even treated it. It's not even such a. It's not even a. Like the level of play that got in the thread over the years is way higher than it should have, considering.
Well, I mean, it's an absolutely hilarious like moment in the series. It's like this unintentionally hilarious moment. We get this view of this woman, and she's got, you know, like she's a concubine or whatever, and you know but outside of that, it looks like, you know, she's got a fairly okay life. You know, she got the kid, she got the fancy house, and the room is fancy. And then we find out, oh, that's his wife, and he sold him to her. You know, like,
and that's like the whole of that character is, I need to get my wife back because I sold her. It's like
it's like when it started off, it's like, oh, his wife was kidnapped. It's like, no, she was actually sold, and her life is probably better now.
And this is all that we remember about this series.
Okay, so Samurai 7, obviously a spin off of Seven Samurai.
Yeah,
and only they obviously
robots.
had to fit 26 episodes. They made the invaders like robot people. There was something about like the emperor was like,
whatever.
It's not good.
You really have to describe every show. Sometimes shows don't deserve it.
No,
I'm just trying to think of what I can remember.
I don't remember much either.
I remember like one of the episodes
before Dimension W. This is the show you would be most likely to forget happened, except for Sold My Wife.
Yes.
So,
so it goes at the bottom.
Although I don't know if it's better. I don't know if it's worse than Bleach.
I think.
Although
Bleach
I guess
is
Soul Society at least.
Yeah, Soul Society probably puts it above.
Yeah.
I really don't have the right to say anything because I actually didn't watch this one. I didn't join ToonamiGAF until about like 2 more shows from now.
Yeah.
So, so I've never seen Samurai 7, but I've never seen anyone in the thread talk about Samurai 7.
Yeah,
outside of
below
Sold My
Bleach.
Wife. Yeah.
Even Sold My Wife is like kind of done because there's never anywhere to use it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't reference much else other than
Sold.
I think it's worse than Bleach.
Yeah,
I'd have to put it below Bleach.
that's fair.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just because I've never seen or heard of it ever mentioned.
Sorry, Bleach. Or sorry, Samurai 7.
I mean, it's not going to be like a bottom 5, but it's down there.
It's from. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell if it's a bad or just not good show.
It's just not good. Because I mean, moments.
It's just not good.
Like I remember there being like points where we liked it, and that's basically where it stayed with the movie.
Yeah,
Like
basically.
when it was just a straight adaptation of scenes, it was really good.
And
But
then when it
they
moved
went
off
on,
of that, it was like, oh my god, kill me.
yeah. So it's this sort of thing where they should have just, done the movie and, whatever.
I think when it was airing, people argued that like they should have cut the episode count in half and just followed the movie and
Yeah,
like
that would have worked because they were fairly good at adapting the actual movie. It's everything around that they used to pad it is garbage.
anyways, let's continue.
Yep.
Yes.
Eureka 7. So this is a show that seems to be extremely divisive. Like, straight up, every time anyone has an opinion, someone will come in with the exact opposite opinion on the range of opinions. I don't remember a whole lot of the show because it's like 50 episodes and I only watched like 12.
No,
I think it's a good show, but there are a handful of things that prevent it from being like top level material for me.
Yeah.
So two things. First of all, there's a lot. So this is a character focused show, and early on, there's a lot of episodes devoted to
shitting on
Renton being
shit on.
Kind of a. Not only is he shit on, he's just kind of a shitty kid though too. He's just, he's like everything.
Part of the thing is him growing up.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Is like he develops a ton through this series, but I almost think it spends way too long on him being kind of a baby.
The main characters are kind of bad people.
They get better though.
But that's the thing though. Like I also feel like, first of all, I want to mention, and this is also true for something like. Well, anyway, I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think characters have to be good people.
They don't.
Sometimes they just have to be interesting. But unfortunately, I think a person who is flawed, or maybe even like this person is not a good person, or they're not an ideal person, or even whatever. I feel like as long as they're interesting, that's all that matters. Like, not everyone has to be a bastion of empathy or whatever. But
yeah.
I think they just like there's like a 10 episode stretch there early on where Renton is just kind of this annoying idiot, and it's just not really like
you didn't need all of those episodes.
What's like there's nothing that's like grabbing the viewer here. Like, this isn't interesting. It's just whatever. But also, okay, let's kind of flip gears and go near the end of the series. So like the very end of the series, it kind of like. A lot of things drag down quite a bit. Like as soon as Renton hits that beach on Earth,
it starts stalling out at that point.
And then after that, like it literally goes into like
hyperdrive.
But the part of it that like I actually trying to remember exactly what happens, but it's like this thing where it's like this bond between Renton and Eureka becomes like the key to everything, and it's like. Becomes the literal power of love, so much so that I think there's a shot where like shows the moon and the moon is shaped like a heart, and I'm just kind of like it kind of like pulled me out of it. Like, what? Like literal power of love is what's going to save the planet or whatever it is, and it's just kind of like that seems pretty corny to me.
It was fairly corny, but at the same time I'm like, hey, this is the kind of show it is, Like the big catastrophe in the series that happened in the past was called the Summer of Love, of all things.
Now let me get to talk to some praises. There are some fantastic episodes, like individual episodes in the show. One, I think it's episode 26. Like it's so good, I think I remember the number. It's called Morning Glory.
Yes.
It's basically when Renton and Eureka kind of meet each other again after being separated for so long. And like during their separation, they kind of realize how much they needed each other.
Yeah.
And it's this very memorable scene where like they're both in the sky, a lot of the shows in the sky, and they're falling and basically reaching for each other while they're falling. And it kind of that almost seems a little bit cliche, but like
it was fantastic.
It works so well. And then there's actually a similar scene, I think like 3 episodes from the end with Anemone and I don't remember.
I
don't remember his name, but it's actually very similar.
Yeah.
And it's just like I think those episodes, and I know I'm kind of undercutting myself here because I don't even remember that character's name, but
they were good.
Those 2 episodes like are very powerful, and I think in terms of like a romantic like scene, those and like relationship, those episodes work for me.
Yeah,
I think
part
they're the
of
highlights.
I think part of why they work here and they might not work somewhere else is because the show very clearly builds up to those points.
Hmm.
You know, like it's slightly foreshadowed in both cases. The characters are both in a spot, are all in spots where they do that sort of thing, and it's just. I think this is where the long episode count like helps. Like it helps set up. It gives them space to set up the groundwork required for that sort of shot to work.
I totally agree with you. It makes these romances that do develop in these series feel quite a bit more natural,
Hmm.
in terms of like there's reason for these characters to actually like
Care about
fall
each other,
for
yeah.
each other. Like it
Literally.
feels natural and real rather than just like a lot of anime. Obviously, it's just like, oh, that character is you know good looking,
Whatever.
and like I'm going to basically dote on her until she likes me or whatever. It's just
Hmm.
like the relationships that between these characters does feel real, and even like the relationship between like Holland and his squeeze, whose name I also forget.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not good at these names. Like that relationship's a bit more strained than some of the others and less
But
ideal, but it still
it's
feels
still fair.
real. It
Yeah,
feels realistic, like especially since
it's
those
like
characters are older.
it's like a very adult relationship compared to Renton and Erika, which is a
Which is
very
more like puppy love.
childlike one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think like the relationships between characters does work. I just think it kind of
Yeah.
goes a little bit too far at the very end, where it's like literally the power of love will save the planet. It's just kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah, that does go. I think the beach needs to be cut down a little bit, and the first 10 episodes where Renton's just a shitty kid, like you can cut 5 of those out.
I do kind of I do hesitate a little bit because like, well, maybe those episodes early on helped made the growth believable later, but I still feel
Yeah.
like
It might
I
be
still feel like
one. It's a
the balance is a little bit off.
Yeah, it's just a couple of episodes too many, I think. You know?
So
Like he's
I
just
think
too shitty for too long.
So I think this is a good show, but I think there's just a couple of things that hold it back
Yeah,
from being one of the
I think in
there's
the
a
very
end,
top.
this show should kind of end up this show should be like the halfway mark. Like half the
I
show
think it's
should
maybe
be
a
roughly
little bit
above it,
above.
and half or like roughly below it.
I don't know. I think we've had plenty
I'd
of
put
kind
it
of
above
subpar
that.
shows that this will be a little bit above halfway.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
generally this is like the middle show.
Has C. Kohler seen this?
I only saw like towards the last fourth of the show
Yeah.
because that's
Mhm.
about the time I
Okay.
started watching Toonami on
Mhm.
GAF, and
Okay,
my
I was just
only
wondering
no, well, I would say
because
I
you
was
say
only
good
gonna,
opinions. So
well, I only want to contribute to this by saying that I do believe, even though I was completely lost and I didn't understand what was going on, I do think that the production values were pretty good in this show. It always consistently looked good. Vibrant colors, good animation.
The music
So
was always good too.
So I would,
Yeah.
when I look at our current list, even with just a little bit I saw, I would still put it above like Dead Man Wonderland.
Yeah,
I think it pretty clearly goes at that fourth spot.
Yeah,
there's a
like
big,
it's a
there's a
underneath
big gap
Cowboy
between
Bebop.
Dead Man and Ghost in the Shells, and Eureka 7 fits in right there.
Yeah.
right in that spot. I think it's sort of going to be the demarcation between these are the sort of not so good shows and these are the good shows. Like sort of like the last third of the, like the 2/3, and then it's going to be like right before the third that's really good.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Eureka said, like I said, it's so like I haven't seen much of
It's
any of it,
divisive.
but it's so
Yeah.
divisive.
Yeah, I think part of the reason it's so divisive is sort of like Seda was saying, it's the first 10 episodes that really turn a lot of people off on the show and
I
sour
guess
them on
some
the
people don't
characters.
think he ever like. Some people are like, "Oh, Renton, it's the first 10 episodes of Stupid Kid Renton," and some people are like, "No, he's always that."
Well, I mean, it's
And
not
also
only
those
that.
kids, Eureka's
It's
children.
also, and it's also what the main, the captain of the ship of the Holland. It's also like he's a real giant asshole in that part of the series, and a lot of people have a hard time, letting that go, or like forgiving him and or like hitting Renton and stuff. So I think it does go a little bit far in those first 10 episodes, and I think if part of those get cut out, it'd be a lot easier for people to say it's good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Symbionic Titan.
Oh, man, this is depressing.
Man, just wait till we get to One Piece.
No, this is really the really depressing one, because this was Gendy getting to do like a serialized action show for the first time, and it was really like it started off sort of okay, but then it started getting really good, and then it got canceled. I mean, like that one episode where they do the flashback to what happened on Galaruna and how Lance got everybody off planet. And holy crap! Like the sword fight between him and the other guy was just fantastic. I mean,
it's a really good show.
It really, really is.
Also, remember Shake It, Booty Quake It.
Oh, God. And then...
So when you're surprised when Samurai Jack Season 5 comes around and there's just an entire episode that is just kind of a metaphor for a sex scene, remember, Gendy Tartakovsky put that on Cartoon Network.
Shake It, Bake It, Booty Quake It.
And not even Adult Swim, Cartoon Network.
Yeah, and how that episode ends is absolutely fantastic with, like their first kiss, and she's like, completely blown away, and the space age love song is playing, and the fight's happening, and it's just it's really good. A lot of really fantastic episodes here, and the characters are good, and it does a lot of interesting things, and it was killed way before its time, and it's just not fair.
Seda and Sequeller, what do you think?
I think Seda went away for a minute.
Oh.
I'd say that I don't have like a deep love for this series. I think it's good, but I don't know. It's okay. It kind of felt like a parody to me. It's like Gendy Tartakovsky wanted to make Voltron, and this is his take on Voltron. And I guess it's okay. I definitely do agree that it does some daring things that are surprisingly made it onto Cartoon Network, but that doesn't necessarily, to me, make it a good as like a really great show. I think it's definitely a good show. If I look at our current list, I'm kind of thinking it's floating around where Ghost in the Shell is, but I'm not sure if it's above or below it.
I don't think it's above Ghost in the Shell, but I think it's definitely above everything else.
Yeah,
I think that sure if I'd put it above Eureka 7, actually.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too.
I definitely no. There's no way it's not like.
I think the first half. I think the first
really like Eureka 7, and then Eureka, or I mean Symbionic Titan, and then there's pretty much everyone loves Symbionic Titan.
I think the first half of Symbiotic. I think the first half of Symbionic Titan, like where they like it took a while to find its footing, and then like it spends like about half a season or its first set of episodes like kind of like meeting its potential, and then it's canceled. So
yeah, it's this weird thing where it right after it finds its footing, it starts being absolutely fantastic, and then it's gone. So like if it had kept going, I think it would definitely be above Eureka 7 100%, but it never got to complete itself. And I think
I think
that the fact that it never got its completion is what puts it just below, if not dead even with Eureka 7.
But I just don't think Eureka 7 was ever that great.
What I was going to mention earlier is that the first half of Symbionic Titan has a lot of like these, like it feels more like a typical Cartoon Network cartoon where it's just like daily life of these like school, high schoolers. Only they like obviously they're aliens and they have a giant robot, and like this is a decent Cartoon Network show, but that's kind of like the first 12 episodes or whatever, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like it's a decent show, but it's not like a great show at that point. And then it starts to like really come into its own, and it's that's when the story starts to kick in, and then you have like scenes like with Octus's death and whatnot
Yeah.
that are like I think like legitimately good, but I think it's just a little bit too back heavy.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would say
And
the
I actually
opposite.
this is actually something.
I think the fact that the back half is so good is what I just don't know that any. You guys pointed out there's some good episodes in Eureka 7, but that's 50 episodes, and I mean, how much of
Yeah,
that
it's close.
series is
It's close.
really?
Yeah, like I
It's good
put it
enough.
like, yeah, I mean that's why I'm sort of saying they're around each other, if not dead even.
I think it has to go above Eureka 7 because I think that like you said, maybe that first half isn't great, but that last half is great. I don't know that Eureka 7 ever reaches that level for more than an episode.
I will say
And it's
Eureka 7
50
also
episodes
has a
long.
lot of. I will say we didn't talk about this when we were talking about Eureka 7,
Yeah.
but it has a lot of jargon.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like there's episodes when like Renton goes to like this like museum to try to like explain.
It's almost as bad as Unicorn.
Yeah, and it's like trying to
yeah.
explain like the state of the world, and like I don't remember really what it is at this moment because it's pretty convoluted.
Yeah.
So like Eureka 7 has a lot of this kind of jargon, and also just worth mentioning, I think it was discussed that like the dub actually kind of makes things a little bit more confusing. That like they talk about something called the limit of questions,
Yeah.
where that literally makes no sense. It's like a limit of life.
Yeah, it's like
Which
there
is what
can
it should have been
only be
called.
yeah, it's like there can only be so many like living sentient beings in one place.
Yeah, and this is the type of thing I remember like people in the thread actually had to say like, all right, so here's the deal with this because the
Yeah,
show
well,
itself
like it
didn't
needed
explain
to
it
be
too well.
explained. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that
So
I
like
think that
that's
might
something
have
that I think pulls the Eureka 7 down. So
yeah.
I that's just something we didn't mention earlier. So
Right.
I do think these shows are close. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like both good shows with black marks.
Yeah, I think Titan might go slightly edge it out, if only because nothing needs to be explained by someone who's watched the show more than once. Just the fact it's a little easier to follow.
Well, that sounds like three people who think that Eureka 7 should be below Symbiotic Titan.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I'm like just barely edging it out. I'm still
that's
holding
enough.
that they're
That's enough to edge
basically,
it. So that if your vote is above, then
Yeah,
I'm
let's
not
put it
going to
above.
argue that.
yeah,
I mean, it's close.
yeah, it's just barely above. I think in the final list they should be right next to each other.
They can't.
I mean,
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean,
the lists don't work that way.
we'll see.
yeah, well, I mean, we'll see, but
I think,
like,
I
Can
think
there be
maybe you
ties?
guys are.
well, no, I mean like not like right next. I mean like there's one and then there's the other above it with nothing in between.
Well, let's just keep going and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We've reached the point where we need to stop, but let's keep going and see what happens.
Well, I mean that's
Anyway.
always going to happen when you get two that are this close.
Thundercats 2011.
Oh God, fuck me.
Okay,
It's
so this
not
is
a
going to be.
good show, but I don't know that it's a bad show.
It starts off good. Like
Those
we
first
can
two
come out and
episodes are-
say that like the first couple of episodes are really well done, but then it turns into just what the fuck.
I think the main problem with Thundercats is that it's like a serial show. Like it's supposed to have like an overarching story,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels like none of the lessons learned or anything.
Carry over.
Yeah.
Like the characters kind of like always revert to like their new
Type.
natural state, like at the beginning of every episode. So there's like no
Mhm.
We
growth.
said that constantly when we were watching it. That like, why is
Yeah.
this character doing this? He just learned not to do this.
And most of the time that's lying though.
Yeah.
And then twice they stole his girl. Like he got NTR'd not once, but twice in the same show, in
I
the
think
same season.
I think my feeling on Thundercats 2011 was like, again, everybody agrees the first couple episodes are like, this is going to be amazing, and then it is, and then
it's
it kind
just
of
wasted potential.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's ultimately my overall feeling about the show. Production values were good. I mean, it's basically the same team that did like, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got that animation quality to it, so it always looked good. I liked how they tweaked some of the characters like Snarf and the Wily Kittens. Like, I think that they were better takes on those characters. I think it was more interesting and adult, and it wasn't as goofy like the original. But
Yeah.
having said all that, and the world building, I think they did interesting things with the established races and other things. But I have to admit, by the end of the show, I wasn't really interested. It was kind of like, whatever.
Just a whatever show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
don't
think by the end of it, it was like, is this over? It's over, thank God.
I have no idea where to start ranking this, so I guess I'm going to start at the bottom. So is it better or worse than Samurai 7?
Better than Samurai 7.
Yeah, better than Samurai 7.
Is it better or worse than Bleach? This is tough because Bleach
How
is
did Casher and Sins get above Bleach? I still don't get that, but whatever.
Well,
I think
Bleach
Casher and
has
Sins
so much bad.
I think Casher and Sins was above Bleach. I mean, I argued for this just because of its style and its tone and its length.
Yeah.
Like it's only, it's like it's something a little bit different. It's not exactly great, but Bleach
and it didn't overstay. Bleach overstayed its welcome.
Bleach kind of becomes just like, I think like typical bad shonen that like never ends. Where Casher is just kind of like,
it's in, it's out,
this is an idea. It doesn't really work.
It's over now.
Stylistic, and it's hard to compare this to other shows. There's not a whole lot like it. And I think that that kind of bumped it up a little bit above it.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know what do you guys? Okay. So
I mean, in that case,
do we think it's better than Bleach?
I mean, if we're going to go by that, I mean, the pacing is better.
That's the thing. Like the length is obviously only, what is it? 26? Is it?
Yeah.
Or is it 50?
I mean, it got canceled.
I mean, they both apparently have.
I just don't.
Unless I'm remembering wrong, I think both the shows have a terrible ending.
They do, but at the same time, Thundercats doesn't have any shows that, just where nothing happens.
Yeah.
Although I think like Soul Society alone is like, man, there's twice as good stuff in Bleach as there is in Thundercats, period.
Soul Society is good for Bleach, but I think everything after that like just drags endlessly for no reason, and there's filler that appears randomly for no reason in the middle of a fight. It's just this weird thing.
I don't feel comfortable putting it above Bleach because I think Bleach is like a beloved franchise, and Thundercats 2011 is just a footnote.
Yeah, I think put Thundercats below Bleach because Bleach. Like
just below.
What Chris was saying earlier, that Bleach kind of had like these moments that were like no, Bleach had moments that were like entertaining, even if they were like unintentionally entertaining, and like we could have fun at poking fun at it type of thing. And it was just like, this isn't exactly great, but even like some of the later stuff, we actually like, I think people legitimately enjoyed watching it, even if it was just kind of silly and dumb.
Yeah.
Like making fun of Tsukishima or whatever, just kind of like dumb stuff like that. Where Thundercats just kind of like so plain and bare and just kind of like unremarkable.
Thundercats played everything too safe, and so it just kind of was bland.
Yeah,
like
I don't remember. Really I'm trying to remember like when you think of Bleach and think of like certain episodes that aired on TV that people like that were memorable because of like the reactions in the thread. You can think of like when Aizen or when Ice Dragon Tard, whatever his name is, stabbed Momo.
Ice Tard.
Or when like Tsukishima like tricked all of Ichigo's friends into like doing like that he was friends the whole time. Like stuff like that was just kind of like, this is stupid, but it's
it's hilarious.
We had fun as a group talking about the fact that he had rewritten Toonami. Like, remember he was like, he changed Toonami. Yeah, you guys don't remember? This is really Toonami.
No, I remember.
Yeah.
I think we inserted him into other shows.
right?
Yeah, it was like a weird like meta game for a week or two.
Yeah.
But it was like, but I like thinking about Thundercats. Like, was there an episode that had like that sort of equivalent? No,
No.
it was just kind of
Yeah.
bland and like it was inoffensive. Like there was nothing that was like, this is terrible, like unredeemable. It's just kind of like, this isn't very interesting.
It didn't take any chances, but it did take one chance, but it was canceled immediately after that. So
I don't even remember what happened at the end. I guess I might tell you everything about it.
Yeah, no, I just barely remember it. It's the
wasn't there that Anthra?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Lionel's
new girl was
actually like, I actually worked for Mumra.
Yeah, she actually worked for the bad guy the whole time.
It's like, you left. I was literally like, help, and you guys left. And it's like, what?
We didn't
notice. I remember that now. Like, I was actually there at the very beginning of the show when like the city was destroyed, and you guys left me there. And it's like kind of like almost feels like a retcon.
Yeah.
I remember that now. Oh man. Anyways, I think it should be below Bleach.
Yeah, just below.
Yeah,
Bleach.
I kind of think so.
Because it's just so plain and kind of unremarkable. I think
plain.
Unremarkable is the best word for it. It's just like
its best quality is that it looks consistently great.
Yeah. It's.
Well, I mean, I'll finally say that I think its best quality is that it took a property like that as dumb as Thundercats and made something mildly interesting with it. But the problem is the keyword mildly. It's just not interesting enough.
They didn't do enough with it.
Right.
Inuyasha is a show people like.
Yeah.
Inuyasha is like I know some people hate. Actually, I was going to say something similar. I know some people hate this analogy, although it's used pretty frequently. Yeah. It's like a comfort food or maybe a junk food.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
where it's like when you're watching it, it's a very meandering show. It spends so long for it to actually get anywhere or do anything.
But you'll totally watch it when it's on.
Most of the characters are the same in episode 10 as they are at episode 100.
Yeah.
But it's kind of got like this just like relaxing feel to it when you're watching it. It's just like, I'll catch this episode.
I mean, it's fairly well paced. It's interesting.
Well, I mean, I would say it's not well paced.
Well,
I would just.
I mean, there are some episodes that go on for a while.
One could say you don't really care about getting to the destination.
That's the thing. It's like
you're fine with the pace it's at. You're completely fine with it, even if it feels a little slow.
Before anyone says anything else, I just want to let our viewers know that we are not counting Final Act.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is separate from Final Act.
Yeah, this is just the original.
I mean, this includes all of Inuyasha. Toonami didn't get to air the whole thing, but it's not really. They aired most of it, and that's the thing that's interesting about Inuyasha. Like, we have shows like Eureka 7 where it's like, well, this was 50 episodes, and maybe they should have cut out some of that stuff. And then we get to Inuyasha where it's like, this is 167 episodes, and nobody really suggests they should have cut stuff.
No, if anything, they needed to, finish it.
They needed more Inuyasha in the real world filler.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Inuyasha is one of those shows
more
where
episodes.
Filler.
Yeah, where the filler is actually like arguably
really
better
good.
than the actual like manga stuff.
Well, there's some good manga stuff, but a lot of the filler is actually really good, which is it's this shocking thing because usually the filler is crap and you want to get through it as fast as possible. But with Inuyasha, it's very much, please, sir, can we have some more?
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone will argue that Inuyasha is a great show.
No.
I mean,
it's good though.
But it's just it's not. I would say it's like we were just talking about Thundercats. Even though it's about as leisurely, it's
better.
I feel like it meets a tone and a style to it that's just a notch above something like Thundercats, and it doesn't have any I don't think it has any outrageously stupid writing moments that something like Bleach has. I
mean, the closest it comes is when those poison insects show up every time Oroku's about to.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that, where it's basically it feels kind of like almost like a cartoon in that sense, where it's they can kill the bad guy right. They can kill the bad guy right now if it wasn't for those poison insects. Yeah.
Well, let me say that I'm feeling like we're, unfortunately, I mean, maybe fortunately, I don't know. We're putting Inuyasha around with Bleach right now.
It's
If I were
above
to
Bleach,
compare,
I
Inuyasha
think.
is definitely above Bleach.
that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say, and the reason I'd give that is to say that Inuyasha, it doesn't fall into the trap of being like, well, we need to introduce 12 new characters to make our show interesting.
Yeah.
It
No.
pretty much operates with the same cast the whole way through, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll add one or two characters every now and again, but generally when it does, they either don't stick around or they join the main cast.
Or they're like characters like I'm trying to remember the structure of things. What's
There were,
what is Naraku's what does he call his parts again? I forget. But like the woman with the fans.
yeah.
When does she show up? Because she's not there at the beginning, is she?
No,
She
no.
becomes
She
pretty
shows up
important
around
later.
halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they add a couple of characters, but it's not like Bleach where they add like here are the
A
12,
million
you know,
captains and the 26,
Vizords or whatever.
hollows or
Like,
whatever.
like
Yeah.
Bleach, Kubo literally said, "When I don't know what to do, I just make characters up."
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the exact opposite of that. This is constantly reusing characters and
Okay.
giving them new things to do.
So where do we, if we all agree it's above Bleach, do we think that Inuyasha is above
think
Catcher in Sins?
I think it's easily above Dead Man Wonderland.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Honestly,
Having
I
not
think
seen
like
his Sins.
And then I think the argument is above or below Eureka 7 or Titan.
I would say
okay.
below Eureka 7 because like Eureka 7 has a couple of those standout episodes and
Yeah.
Inuyasha doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, as good as
So-
like something like the Band of Seven is, it's not
Inuyasha is like unflavored grilled chicken.
like I think it's fair to say Inuyasha is going to wind up being sort of like the halfway mark. Like what
Yeah.
you said Eureka 7 was going to be, I think that's what going to be what Inuyasha really is.
Above what? But we want your opinion right now. Above or
Yeah.
below Eureka 7?
Below Eureka 7.
Yeah, just below.
Okay, well, C-Cola, what do you think?
I guess it's below Eureka 7, but I will put the footnote that I believe that the characters in Inuyasha are much more beloved than the characters in it.
Yeah,
in Eureka 7.
they're more likable, and I'd argue slightly more interesting, but it doesn't have any of
That
those
sounds
sort
like
of
a good argument for above Eureka 7.
It
Eureka
doesn't have
7
any
is
of
more
those
dynamic.
highs, though.
Yeah, Eureka 7 is more
It
dynamic.
doesn't
where it has
have any of those highs, but it operates at such a consistent level for so long.
Yeah,
I would
that's
still
the
put it
thing.
below Eureka 7, I think.
Yeah, because I mean,
Because
I
it
don't
never
think
breaches like anything above.
Well, Grex.
So here's my argument. Here's
Okay.
my argument. Eureka 7 has some pretty significant low points to it, and I pointed out a few of them. But it
Yeah.
also it's more dynamic and has some pretty great high points too.
Mhm.
And I just think the fact that Inuyasha it is more consistent, yes, but it just kind of
Yeah.
never reaches that. It never becomes anything more than just
what it is.
this is enjoyable. Like
Yeah.
so I think that kind of like prevents it from surpassing Eureka 7, even if it never
Yeah.
goes to the same lows.
We haven't heard Grex's opinion.
I didn't really watch much of any of these shows, so.
Why are you doing this?
Look, there was a time where I wasn't watching Toonami a whole lot, and then there was a
Okay.
time where I watched everything. So
So you don't have an
those
Eureka.
early shows.
You don't have an Eureka 7 Inuyasha opinion.
I feel like its average is higher than Eureka 7. So I'm put it above Eureka 7 guy.
I mean, I guess that's fair too. But
This is the problem with having 4 people. We can't vote.
yeah,
Because I
the
think I
tiebreaker.
kind of also put it above 7 because of its pedigree. Like Inuyasha is a classic anime, and Eureka 7 is not.
Like I think you have to
honestly-
knock down Eureka 7 for the annoying characters who don't get better.
Mm.
Like,
the
would you
kids.
watch 167 episodes of Eureka 7?
This is kind of amusing to me because I don't think that
Yeah.
highly of Eureka 7, but I'd still put Inuyasha underneath it.
Well, I mean, I think if they had, finished the adaptation of Inuyasha the whole way through and hadn't had to stop, I think it'd definitely be above Eureka 7. But the series itself sort of
But what
stops
would be the
just before it reaches those highs.
What would even change? it would still be like 50 more episodes of kind of the same thing.
It would basically be final
But it
act
would be good instead of
with
terrible.
without
Yeah.
the crazy
It-
whirlwind pace.
It'd be like a good version of Final Act, which could actually be very good. Like the whole problem with Final Act was they crammed like entire volumes into single
talk about that
episodes.
later.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess if we are gonna vote, is it that me and B-Dubs would put it below Eureka 7 and Grex and T-Color would put it above? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now. But I'm
Fuck.
I'm waffling on this a little bit now.
So
Just thinking about it, because like Eureka 7 is basically like the anime version of The Mummy. Like if it's on
What?
TV, no. Listen, if it's on TV, you're gonna watch it. Like you're not gonna seek it out. But if you're flipping the channels and you see The Mummy on, you're gonna sit down and you're gonna watch The Mummy.
Inuyasha?
Yeah, Inuyasha is like The Mummy. It's like if you're
Oh,
flipping
I thought
channels and you
7 was okay.
no, if you're flipping channels and you see it, you're gonna sit down and watch it because you're like, okay, this is gonna entertain me for however long is left in the episode. A lot like how if you're flipping channels and you see The Mummy on, you're gonna be like, okay, I'll watch this. It's I know what it is. It's entertaining enough.
I just think it's impressive that we're talking about a show that is 167 episodes, and nobody's like, man, there's significant parts of this that are bad. How do you even?
I just feel like that. Let me just blurt out there that Inuyasha has some great endings.
It really does.
Ending and credits.
It really has some of the best ending credits I've seen.
Another reason I like
It's one of those shows where
Inuyasha
the
more-
endings are consistently better than the openings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another reason I like it more than Eureka 7, and again, coming from the fact that I didn't really see much of Eureka 7,
Yeah.
but I got that going against me. Although from everything you guys described, the beginning wasn't very good. Inuyasha is made by Rumiko Takahashi, who I also have a soft spot for because I love Ranma and I love those crazy aliens and or those darn aliens. I like her work and her characters and her comedic styling, and I think that Inuyasha is a fun show, and I will always side with the fun show over the melodramatic show.
That's true.
that's
Eureka
fair,
7
yeah.
can be very saccharine.
And
Yeah.
which cast would you rather spend would you rather spend any amount of time with?
Yeah, it's okay. I'll put
Moroku's
Inuyasha.
goofy, grab the butt thing is a played out joke, but every time it happens, I chuckle.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's funny every time for reason because it's never sort of when you expect it.
Eureka 7 is kind of like that dish you get at a restaurant every time you go there because you're just afraid that if you try something new, you'll end up liking it less. And then it's like, oh, I could have just got my favorite.
So where are you, B-dubs?
Yeah, okay, just above, I think. I mean, taking the endings into consideration, it goes above because I do remember a huge uproar when they sped up the endings originally.
Yep.
Everyone was just pissed off, and DeMarco saw a ton of bitching on Twitter, and he had to go out of his way to make sure it got fixed.
And what in Eureka 7 would could actually lead to that kind of response?
Yeah, I just think it's
people just
hilarious.
care in general more about Inuyasha than they can about Eureka 7.
Yeah.
They never did an Eureka 7 parody on Robot Chicken, but they did an Inuyasha one.
Yeah.
If that means anything.
That means we've made it, boys.
There was also the old Adult Swim action promo where they just yell each other's name for 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, for the longest time before Bleach came along,
that was
Inuyasha it was basically just Inuyasha holding down the anime block on Adult Swim for an hour for a decade, and that's all there was.
Wasn't there a point where they were 3 hours of Inuyasha at the end of the block?
1 hour.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean back in the
they
old
had?
days? I don't know.
Well, no, and at
For a
Toonami
while
it
at
was
Toonami,
there was a
for
whole
a while
hour.
at Toonami it was an hour for
Yeah.
a while.
Anyway,
5 and 5:30.
I
Remember when Toonami went all the way to 6 a.m. and people watched it?
Man, that was too
I did that a few
long.
times. It was kind of interesting to be like, man, I've just watched this thing and now the sun is up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Football and
Time to go to
in
bed.
5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right, well,
You
that
can
sounds
do
like
that in
3-1.
college, but
that's 3 votes for Inuyasha above Eureka 7.
Okay, let me just say that like I don't really feel strongly about either of these shows, so I'm not gonna put up a defense. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like both. I don't love either, and
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't feel strongly enough to really. I don't want to sound apathetic, but
Yeah.
Anyway, so now we are going to have a lunch break.
Oh.
already.
Is that
Okay.
okay with everyone?
Oh, it's already 2 hours. Holy crap!
It is 1 o'clock
We went through 11
It's only 10 a.m.
shows in 2 hours.
in
Oh,
an hour
God.
and a half.
Well, that's true. We didn't stop. Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah.
true.
And
Okay.
some of them ended up being big long discussions, so we'll see you guys
We're
back
gonna be
here
here
at
a while.
1:30.
Wait, do we need that long of a break?
I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't-
we'll see when we
I don't
get
need
back.
that long.
I
We'll
feel
check
like I
back.
kind of want to get this. I kind of want to get this done a little bit
Yeah.
earlier than like if
Well,
just a
like-
5 minute
like-
break just to grab something to snack on is
Yeah.
fine.
Let's just keep going.
I'm gonna heat
Just
up some
grab-
pizza. Is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
I'm gonna
so
go get a
what's
bite,
that?
but give me like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
quick break.
5-10 minutes.
You might want to
Alright.
stop
And
the
if you have to
recording.
stop for a second.
You might want to stop the recording and then start a new one when we.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
we'll see you guys back here in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
So when